Hi, my name's Josh. Today I passed my driving test, which is my practical P1 test in Queensland, Australia. So in my state, the laws are a little different to the other states. I know in some of the other states in Australia, you need to get like 120 hours or like 30 hours. It's different. There's like restrictions on how fast you can go. But in my state, it's 100 hours. You submit your logbook and then you take a practical driving test, and they'll test you on a couple things. And the test is supposed to last between 20 and 35 minutes. My test realistically lasted about 20 minutes, but on the sheet, she's including the pre-car checks and just sort of like waiting around and giving me my test results back as part of like the testing period. So she said it went for like 35 minutes when actually it was only like 20 minutes of actual driving. I did mine in an auto car because my parents don't have manual cars, so it would have been really hard for me to learn manual, and I was just ready to get my license. Like, I didn't want to get it manual first go. If I'm interested in doing that, I can always get it later, but for now it's just more useful for me to have my auto license. So about the test, I got a 11:30 time slot on a Saturday. And the only way you can get a weekend booking is if you go through a driving school, which I recommend that you do because they can get the closer times. Like, if you go on the website to try and book it, you only get what you can get. But if you go through a driving school, they have access to like all the hidden weekend times, and they can fit you in. And if you go through a driving school, you do an hour in their car before you go for the test. So you're doing an hour. It really helps you feel more comfortable that like the first time you're driving for the day isn't when your test is. So just driving for an hour around really helps your nerves. It's really good if you make mistakes when you're driving around with the instructor, because he can tell you that's what you don't do in the exam. So it's always beneficial to do. I did like 3 mock tests before my exam, in the week before my exam, and then I did an hour before the test with my driving guy. So for the test part, we went to the car park of where my test center was, and my driving instructor's like talking to her, trying to get on like a friendly level, I guess you could say. And she says, all right, just hop in the car. We're going to do the pre-test like tests. So I hop in, but I can't really hear her. I'm unsure of what to do. She's like, step on the brake light. I'm like, should I turn the car on for this? I had no idea. So I just buckle up and I said, oh, I have to turn the car on. And she's like, indicator, indicator, right indicator, left indicator, brake lights, sound the horn. And then she got in the car and she said, turn your headlights on. So I turned the headlights on, and then she said high beam, and I put the high beam on. And then she said, that's all good. I made sure she was buckled up and she said, let's go. So we drove out of the test center and we went on our way. And what was good for me was there was like this school fete going on. So there was a lot of traffic, and we went down like the school zone, but it's a Saturday, so it doesn't count as a school zone, but there was cars all the way down the street. It was pretty much a one-way street, and there was so much traffic. So we wasted like 5 minutes just sitting there slowly going down the street with all this traffic. I was like, yes, like less time for me to make mistakes. We didn't go on the freeway. We just sort of drove around. She's just like, go left here, go right here. And then we drove onto this like sort of straight road, and she said, pull up behind this car and do a straight reverse. So I pulled up and I'm doing the straight reverse or whatever, and some car's like coming, but he's like 50 meters away. And she's like, do you see that car coming? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, what should you do when you see a car coming? And I'm like, stop. And I stop. And then he sort of just sits there. He's not interfering me at all. And then he just like drives away 30 seconds later. And I was like, okay, I guess I can continue. So I keep going in. And then she's like, okay, pull up in front of this car and do a reverse parallel park. But imagine there's an imaginary car like behind the space. Even though it's just like a straight, there's a car here and all of this is just nothing. She said, imagine there's a car here. So what she wanted me to do is just reverse slightly into this space. But I reversed into it and I kept going back because I wanted it to be straighter. And she's like, imagine there's a car there, you've gone too far back. And I'm like, oh shit. And I just drive it, just try and straighten it up forwards. And she's like, look how far away from the curb you are. And I'm like, shit. And then I'm like, I fucked this up. And then I pull out and I go down the street. It wasn't that hard to be honest, she easily could have failed me. I got 8 minors, and you're only allowed 8. If I got one more thing, like if she was nitpicky about something, if she could have easily made me just do a quick maneuver and failed me for that. But I'm pretty sure that she just wanted to go on with her day, get back to the test center, and just make my weekend pretty much. She doesn't really care. Like, if she's been doing it for years and years, she's not looking at the individual kid. She's just thinking, am I a threat to the roads? And she decided no, and she decided, I'm fit to drive. So I was really happy. They can only make you do 2 maneuvers now, and one of them must be a reverse maneuver, so either a straight reverse or like a reverse parallel park, or maybe even like a 3-point turn. It has that reverse concept in it, but that's an easier one. So if you're going for your test, make sure you know how to U-turn, 3-point turn, straight reverse, reverse parallel park, and if you know how to do all of those, you're going to be alright for the test. We didn't go on the freeway, which was something that I thought could have been easier because there's like high speed merging. And then I honestly thought I failed during one of the parts because I was looking at my speedometer and I went like 1 or 2 kilometers because it's going down a hill. I went like 1 or 2 kilometers over the speed limit, and I said, "Oh shit!" Like I verbally announced that, and I was like, "Fuck, I've messed this up. We may as well just drive back to the test center now." And I thought the rest of this test is basically just practice for next time. And I'd mentally like given up. I was already beating myself up thinking about all the people I let down and feeling so disappointed. And then I thought, maybe there's a chance that like I could get it. So I thought maybe I failed, maybe I haven't, and I just kept doing it. But after I like mentally gave up, that's when I treated it like I was just driving around with this guy and I wasn't focused anymore. And I think that helped me a little bit, because I was just the nerves. I was so nervous about passing this because I told all my friends, I'm going for it. And then if you fail, I have to send out like 8 different texts. I am a loser. I didn't get it first go. But I had a lucky test. If you're going for it, I recommend you get a Saturday, less driving space, because there's less traffic, and try and get the space before lunch because they just want to give you a quick test. It'll be like 15 minutes and then they'll get back to the center. That's all they want. I wouldn't recommend during the week, but I never did it. Saturday was pretty easy. The traffic was just lighter than usual, I'd say. There was still a bunch of traffic, to be honest, around mid-morning on a Saturday. But the test center is not open on Sunday, so you can't get any Sunday exams. But overall, it was just the nerves get to you, really. You just need to take that into consideration. Think the worst thing that happens is you can retake the test. And if you don't get it first go, that's okay. But it's pretty easy, to be honest. If you end up doing it, you'll realize how actually easy it is. And they only really get you for small stuff. Like my minors were... she said I was speeding like too abruptly, not speeding, but like my speed was too high. And what I do is instead of like cruising along and slowly coming to a stop, I'll like treat it as if it's a race from destination to destination and then halt onto the brakes, which is like not smooth. And she had a 5-minute conversation. She was like, "You too fast, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Wait, did you say I passed?" And I was so happy. And she's like, "Yeah, you passed, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. Your speed was way too fast during this." And my driving instructor clipped me over the ears and he said, "Wow, you shouldn't have speeding. You just got through." I had 8 minors. It could have gone either way. I'm guessing she was in a lenient mood. So it is like kind of lucky for me because I really shouldn't have been let onto the roads. I'm a threat to Australian roads. But I ended up getting it. Super happy I have my P's now, which means I can drive by myself. And the test isn't that hard. So... just quickly, recommendations, get a Saturday test. If you can, go through with the driving instructor, do some mock tests in the area so there's going to be tricks that you're going to have to look out for. If you can get a slot before lunch, that's beneficial. If you're like earlier in the day, that's better because traffic's lighter. Try and avoid the school times or the peak hour times. And if you're like if you're their first or second test of the day, that's optimal. Because they're probably in like a good mood, a morning mood. They're not sick of all these kids doing these tests and just looking for people to fail. They just want to sort of get on with their day, and you're more likely to pass. It's 100% their volition, and I think more likely they're looking to pass you than fail you if they can. They only really want to fail you if they think that like you're super not ready to be on the roads and that you're a threat, you're a dangerous driver. But if you can drive okay and you're confident, you know what you're doing, and you only make minor mistakes, like she said, I didn't shoulder check one time. She said I braked abruptly, too fast going around corners, too fast going through intersections. My reverse park was too far away from the curb. I just got some progress minors, and that was it. One more and I could have failed, but she was in a good mood. Maybe it was her birthday or something, but I ended up getting my license, so I'm super happy. And if I can get it, anyone can get it. I'm such a piece of shit in life. I fuck everything up, and I managed to get my license somehow. So, yay, I can drive. So good luck if you're an Australian driver and looking for your practical tests. Really not that hard. Really not that hard. Okay, guys. Bye.